Just by watching this video, you have a chance to win a free Katwalk C2 Core VR treadmill. Until September 15th, KatVR is running a Gleam giveaway that consists of 2 Katwalk C2 Core treadmills and 20 Grimlord game keys. But let me let you in on a little secret. Somewhere in this video, I've hidden a 7-digit secret access key that will get you 20 more entries so that you can try to win a free Katwalk C2 Core VR treadmill. And yes, that's with shipping included. I have a link to the Gleam page on my screen right now, and it will also be in the description below. And if you do happen to find that secret key, you can scroll all the way to the bottom of the Gleam page and enter the code in at the very bottom here so that you can get 20 extra entries. But remember, keep this code a secret because the more people that know about it means the less chances you have to win. Happy hunting. Cheers and welcome in. I am J-Bar, and if you don't know me yet, I am a VR enthusiast who has used VR treadmills from KatVR for the last couple of years. I have their C1, I have the C2 Plus, and now I have this new version of the treadmill called the Katwalk C2 Core that I'm very excited to talk to you about. Before we really get into things, I got 2 things to get out of the way. First, typical disclaimer stuff. KatVR did send me this treadmill for free so that I could review it for all of you lovely folks, but they did not direct me at all on what to say. They do not officially sponsor the video. I have free reign to say and do whatever I want with this thing. And 2, I need to tell you exactly what this treadmill is not. This VR treadmill is not meant to be a 3rd generation treadmill from KatVR. This is not the Katwalk C3. This treadmill is very much like the Katwalk C2 Plus, but it's got different ergonomics as well as a taller backplate, which allows for more vertical freedom. The Katwalk C2 Core has a starting price right now of $899, but it's going to go up to a full retail price of $999 after September 15th. And I gotta say, I really do love the fact that they put some focus here on making it more affordable. It is still kind of a premium for a VR peripheral, but I think with these changes, they're really bringing this down into a broader audience's price point. They're also saying that with the Katwalk C2 Core, they were able to reduce shipping costs by half as well, which I know is going to make a big difference depending on where you live. Very recently, KatVR had put a lot of work into their Cat Gateway software that runs everything for the treadmill on your PC. And with recent updates, they've added some improvements and features that I really want to talk about. And these major changes don't only affect the Katwalk C2 Core, it works for all of their devices, from the Local S to Katwalk C1 to C2 Plus and C2 Core. And like I've done in my past VR treadmill reviews, I am not going to get in depth on how to install this thing and set it up. They have great instructions that come with the treadmill, as well as video instructions on their website. And they do a great job of explaining how to put it together. So I don't want to bore you with that. I want to just get into the details. Let me hit you with some information about the Katwalk C2 Core while you watch a time lapse of me setting it up. To start off, you're probably going to want someone to help you move this thing in your house once you get it. Mine came in this massive box, and the full weight of the delivery package is 66 kilograms or 145.5 pounds. And the weight of this device when it's set up outside of the package is around 56 kilograms or 123.5 pounds, which surprisingly is actually it's heavier by a few pounds than the Katwalk C2 Plus was. And where they were able to save on shipping costs here, I guess, is due to the very back piece being just taller and thinner versus kind of like a larger backplate backpack type style. This one, they were able to shove all the parts inside of the base with shipping. So this one actually comes with 1 box plus your shoe boxes versus the Katwalk C2 Plus, for example, came with 1 big box, 1 smaller box, which held the back pieces, and then your shoe box. And less boxes obviously means more optimized shipping, and that is great. But because this thing is so heavy, I really do suggest having someone help you. I happen to be not very smart, and I carried mine down my stairs, through my downstairs entertainment area, and into my office by myself, and my back was not feeling the best after that. So please don't do what I do. Get a partner to help you bring this in. The really only other difference is the height due to the back piece being so much taller, which brings it up to 1.86 meters or 6 foot 1 inches as its total height, compared to the Katwalk C2, which was 1.58 meters or 5 feet 2 inches. Beyond that, the rest of it is really the same. The entire base part is the exact same as what you would get with the C2 Plus, minus some of the fun little extra covers that go around the C2 Plus just to make it look a bit cooler. Other than that, the platform footprint, the diameter of it, everything else is all the same in the actual base part as it has been with the C1 and then the C2 Plus. I have the stats here on the screen if you want to see those. And really the major differences between the C2 Plus and the C2 Core is if you get the C2 Plus version, it comes with a seat module that you can do vehicle mode with, which it also works with haptics that the C2 Plus comes with that you will not get with the C2 Core. And the C2 Plus also has LED lights, which are just blue lights that are underneath. They, again, really don't serve any purpose besides to make it look cool. I will say missing out on the haptics and the LEDs really aren't a big deal. Sometimes the haptics can be nice, but I really don't think it's a necessity when it comes to being immersed in a game and being able to just feel the full effects of a VR treadmill like this. The fact that the C2 Core does not come with a seat module is definitely the only thing I would feel like I would be missing if I was going to consistently use it without the seat. I've really enjoyed the seat on the C2 Plus for just even taking quick breaks, or again, just kind of sitting down and doing the vehicle mode is actually a lot of fun, even though it doesn't support a ton of games. So I don't want to say the seat module is necessary, but I enjoy it even for the simple fact of just not having to unstrap and get completely out of the treadmill so that I can take a little break and just sit down and play the game that way for a little bit. I did want to mention that the seat add-on looks like it's going to be $399, which does seem to be on the higher end for me. I did not expect that to be that much. I also have not received the seat module yet. It is a different style than is what on the Katwalk C2 Plus, so I wasn't able to just transfer the one I have over. But when I do get it, I will be able to do a bit more of a review on what the seat is like on the C2 Core and if it feels any different than the C2 Plus. I'm assuming not. They both look the same, but wanted to throw that out there. And here's the Katwalk C2 Core all set up. Let's hop on it and give it a test. Well, to get started here, I want to give you a good close look at the shoes. These are the same exact shoes from the C2 Plus. These are the 2D optical sensors. And I also got a tip from the folks in the KatVR Discord to use loop side down Velcro and put that on the bottom of the shoes, which I did here. I'm probably going to add more because this actually helped quite a bit and I haven't had to lube up the treadmill as much as I usually have to. These are safety straps on the very bottom, so you can click those all the way down when you're getting on the treadmill so that you don't trip. Very useful when you're first starting out. And you do get this little bottle of lube or maintenance oil, whatever you want to call it, from KatVR. It's very useful for just protecting the surface of the base and making sure that it stays as frictionless as possible. But if you ever do run out of that, the stuff that I found that works rather well that I got at my local hardware store, and you can probably get on Amazon, is this Blaster silicone lubricant. Any sort of plastic safe lubricant that stays wet and doesn't just dry right away should work fine. And I'm going to apply that so that when I demo this for you, I'm showing you how the treadmill can look when you have it properly lubed up. Just going to do a little lube dance here for you. Making sure it's evenly spread across the base. Look at that, good to go. And just a good reminder, when you throw your shoes on, make sure they are nice and tight on your feet by just pulling on the little bungee straps. Like I said, you can use a little bottom safety clip. I have developed some bad habits over the couple years I've been using VR treadmills, and I don't technically use mine a lot, but I do suggest it. It just helps make sure you don't slip. Just make sure you put it back down when you are on the treadmill. And for getting strapped in, you just want this around your waist, basically just the thinnest part of your upper body. And I like to get it nice and tight. Do a little discount double check here to make sure it feels good and looks good. All right, so for walking on the treadmill, I have noticed a lot of people have been just kind of doing it the improper way. I think it feels more intuitive to start by leaning your body forward and then walking, but then you end up taking these just tiny little steps at the very middle of the base, and that is not the proper way to do it. It's just not going to feel right. What you want to do is try to keep your back straight up, and then make sure your toes are reaching the end of the base or the edges of the base, just like I am here. Your body will naturally lean forward the faster you go, and it will feel a lot more natural, especially when you're in VR. I think my form here looks pretty natural when I'm running, and it feels that way. It's not gonna ever be perfect, but that is the best feel that you can get when using these treadmills. And of course, got to test my agility out on this thing. Again, feels great. It doesn't feel too different from the C2 Plus, except for now I have this higher jumping height that I can do, and I think I can crouch a little bit lower than I previously could on the C2 Plus. Not a major difference, but it does make a difference if you plan on jumping a lot. It doesn't have, not a lot of game support jumping, but it is a lot of fun. Trying to run and jump is actually rather difficult. It seems to be easier to try to kind of hop off one foot, and I'll demo that a bit more later on. Overall, the C2 Core is feeling great. I feel like I got great range of motion, just like on the C2 Plus. And really no complaints there. The C2 Core does have an advantage over the C2 Plus due to the back piece design. Since this new design has a lot more space vertically to go up and down, you don't need to worry about height differences if you're going to share this with someone or want to have someone come over and give it a try. With the design of the backplate for the C2 Plus, you would actually have to take it apart a bit and then adjust for another user's height if there was a big difference. And it's always good to mention, you need a pulley system when you have these. The treadmills do come with at least one hook for you to hook to your ceiling and hide your cable away. I go with a bit of an extreme setup, but one hook will do you just fine too if that's what you have to work with. So that covers the Katwalk C2 from a hardware standpoint, and I hope you get something out of the tips and tricks I give you around being able to walk on it and just how to really get started if you're new to it. But now I want to move on to talking about the software, as the Cat Gateway software is really where the magic happens. And as of lately, there's been a lot of updates that have come out that have really improved things and have added some really cool features like crouching, sprint thresholds, and being able to quick calibrate using buttons on your controllers, plus some more. Let's hop on the treadmill and into a game so I can give you a rundown of the Cat Gateway software and show you each of the settings and kind of what they do. I'll see you on the virtual side. And it is recommended before you get on the treadmill to shake the shoes so that the sensors wake up and press the calibration button. The sensors across the back plate as well as the shoes do go to sleep after 30 minutes of inactivity. But again, it's just as easy to wake them up by just shaking them and hitting the calibration button. So we are now on Cat Gateway 2.0. So over the last few updates, there's been different versions of 2.0 and different features added in. But what's important here is the most recent update also added support for LocOS and C1, meaning now both of those products from KatVR can take advantage of some of the new awesome features that are in the software. I have not been able to test my C1 with this yet, but I learned from a good friend of mine, Dimwiz, who is also part of the KatVR community as well as my community, that his C1 is working much better after being on this latest version that supports it. He said things seem to be more smooth in general, as well as backpedaling and strafing actually seem viable on the C1 at this point. So that's great news for anyone out there who still has a LocOS or a C1. It might be time to knock the dust off of it. If you haven't used it for a while, update the software and see what this can do for you. So now let's talk about Cat Gateway 2.0 in general. This version has added quick calibration, the ability to jump, sprint thresholds, and more settings to really fine-tune how walking feels in any particular game. And just as a reminder, the Cat Gateway software has separate profiles for every game, so you can tweak each game to your preference to make it feel as natural as you would like. And you can adjust these settings from within Steam VR like I am now, which is my preferred way, because then you can make adjustments and test right after and just kind of see how it's feeling in your game. Or you can also do this on your PC outside of the treadmill. With this latest software, you can actually do a quick calibrate from your controllers now. Previously, you'd have to reach back and press the calibration button or go in the software here. But now, for index, you can just press your very bottom controller button, hold it down, and once you feel a vibration, that means it's calibrated. So whenever I get into a game, I just stand here, look straight forward, hold that button down, I feel it vibrate, then I'm good to go. Simple as that. And it's super nice for games. So there's certain games out there that will kind of mess with your orientation. Among Us VR is one of them. Anytime you go up to do a task, it actually kind of turns your character, and I'm assuming it kind of just changes the way you're oriented in game, so your movement can kind of drift a bit. And it's nice being able to have that quick calibrate, because you can be moving in a game, and if you notice you feel like things have drifted or if they're just a little bit off, then you can just hold the button, you're calibrated again, and then you keep moving. No time at all. So when it comes to the configuration of Cat Gateway, it's pretty easy to do once you're ever in a game. If you have certain settings that you like by default, you can set a default profile that kind of initially applies to all games. But also outside of the software in VR, you can go to the desktop version and you can go to every game profile you have and update them from there, and then go in and test and tweak as you need. What I have found seems to work as a good initial starting point for me is around 1.3. for a walking speed multiplier, and then an accuracy of 2 or 3. Typically I'm playing faster pace, run and gun type games, so I kind of like having that a little bit higher speed multiplier, because I just feel like I get more out of my steps. It doesn't feel like I'm overrunning when I shouldn't be, but it just kind of allows me to move fast in game without getting tired too quickly. So starting from the top, you have a left-handed mode that you can turn on or off. Pretty self-explanatory. If you're left-handed, turn it on. If you're not, keep it off. So this original trackpad or joystick for walk setting is actually a really cool setting, and it's a feature I've been looking for a long time. So what you can do here is you're choosing what has priority, either the treadmill or your joystick. By default, this is on controller secondary, which means your controller is second priority. So if I'm running around with the treadmill here, and I press backwards or anything like that, or up or down or anything, it's not doing anything. It's not changing my motion because it's going to use the treadmill as the priority. Now, if I set controller as the priority, meaning the controller takes precedence over the treadmill, I can run straight on the treadmill and then press left. Oh, it's going to move me left instead. Or right, it's going to move me right instead. So the controller is always going to take priority. And the reason why I like this setting, I'm actually enjoying controller priority more now, because most of the time I'm not using my joystick. If I do, it's because I really quickly have to make an action that's kind of hard to do with my body, right? Like a really quick strafe or a quick back pedal, something like that. There's a little bit of a delay if you leave it on controller secondary and you want to allow your controller to take over, because it's got to start reading that you're not using the treadmill anymore, now you can use the joystick. But with the controller priority, as long as you don't accidentally hit your controller all the time, it actually allows really quick adjustments where if I get into a fight up here and I need to move to the left really quick, I can just do that with my joystick versus, if you're trying to be competitive versus having to run up and then, which that's still pretty quick, don't get me wrong, but sometimes it's easier to use the joystick. Really depends on what you're trying to accomplish. And then, of course, you can actually disable it, meaning the joystick isn't going to be any help to you. All you can do here is use the treadmill. And this would be, this is great if really your goal is just to completely exercise and force yourself to really learn how to use the treadmill and use your body appropriately. It is possible, I'm telling you. People like to say it's not, but you can really run on this thing and get the motion down and just be flying. So it might be worth it if you're really trying to get good to disable it for a few games and see what that does for your performance. So walking speed multiplier has always been there. It's just making sure that you can tweak it for whatever game you're on to how fast you need to be moving per step. The higher this is the faster you'll move with each step. The lower it is the slower you'll move with each step. And you just kind of tweak that to what feels right. Walking accuracy goes from fluency to accuracy. So fluency will actually give you a little bit more of almost a motion smoothing effect when you're moving. So you just kind of get a little bit more of a nice fluid movement versus when you go towards accuracy, what that is going to do is accuracy is going to be more very step-by-step, very more stuttered. Both, honestly, to me, feel pretty good. As you can see, like when I'm moving here, you maybe see a little bit of juddering when I stop. That's just basically so you have more accurate steps versus fluency, where I'm just really going to be really smooth. Kind of a nice finish at the end of my steps. It doesn't feel like I'm overstepping on fluency either. I've always just set it kind of to the mid-range. By default it's 0, but like 2 or 3 for me has always felt really good. Then we have sensor sensitivity, which that is really, if you can see the sensors here on the left side, that's showing really how sensitive they are. So if I turn this, by default it's 10. If I turn it way down, they're just going to be a little bit slower. But yeah, if I do like really small movements like I am with my foot now, look at that, it's barely going to pick up on them. If I do it really deliberately, it'll find them. But if I'm doing really slow movements, it just kind of doesn't pick it up. But if I bring it all the way back to the default, which is 10, look at that. Again, remember guys, these are 2D optical sensors on the bottom of each shoe. So it's almost like having a mouse on your foot. Just a computer mouse, right? So if I slide it in any given angle, that's the direction I move. And part of these settings actually do improve this. I know I've showed it off in my Katwalk C2 Plus video, but this movement ability to kind of peek over across walls, it actually works better now in these latest versions, because before it just wouldn't track you far enough, but now I can actually kind of really quickly peek out and then come back in. Before it was like taking a smaller step. But it feels a lot smoother now, and I'm able to kind of pop in and out of corners if I need to do it that way. And then we have sprint mode. So this can be off for a game like Contractors. I think by default Contractors has you not sprinting automatically, but you turn that on. For any game that I can, if the game has a setting for me to sprint all the time, I'm going to turn that setting on, and then you don't need this. But for games where they require you to do any sort of button press to initiate sprinting or moving faster, this is what sprint mode is for. And this is one of the new features that they added. So in here you set a sprint threshold as to when the sprint's going to activate, and this threshold is based off of how fast you're moving. So if I have the threshold lower, it's going to start sprinting more like here, versus if I have it higher, it's going to start sprinting more when I'm moving like this. So this is another area you can really fine-tune depending on the game to make it really feel right when you start actually running versus when you're walking. And that can maybe be helpful for games where you have to be stealthy in. You know exactly how slow you need to move to keep walking versus how fast you need to start running, and you don't have to worry about pressing a button at that point, which is all great for immersion. And with this sprint threshold setting, you can really fine-tune it so that you don't have to press a button in order to start sprinting in a game. There's some bonus points there for immersion, because the more you have to remember to click a button in order to do something, the less you really feel in it. I will have that off for contractors though, since we always are sprinting. A setting that we can use in contractors that is a lot of fun that they added now is the jump mode. So it will give you a note here. You do have to calibrate anytime you're in a game. If you ever join a game and you're just jumping constantly, that's just because you have to calibrate. It's only ever happened for me like the first time I'm hopping into games, but as long as you remember to calibrate, again, just hold your button down to calibrate, done, you're good to go, then you're fine. And this jump threshold, it's defaulted to 5, and this works very much like the sprint mode. It just depends on how much you need to jump to actually activate the button, right? So a 5 works in contractors for me, like I can just jump kind of a little bit, but if I'm jumping like this, right, I can make it more sensitive to pick up on these, but you don't really want that because you don't want it like picking up your individual foot lifts as jumps. You want it to be both feet, just like that. And I find the default in contractors works pretty good. It is hard to run and jump, but I did find it works better in games if you're really trying to make use of it, to jump off 1 foot like that. All right, if you have to stop to jump off 2 feet, it's just not going to really work that well. So the trick with jumping, like you can do that, but you kind of stop dead in your tracks, don't you? So to really get used to it, jump off 1 foot, and then you can keep kind of going. That was the trick that I figured out worked. I'm still working on being really good at it. It's very tiring to do, but that's a good way to do it. And then you have cruise mode down here. So when you enable this, your walking accuracy settings do get disabled, or cruise mode, as the software currently calls it. We'll have to ask KatVR to fix that. So I did show cruise mode in my last couple videos. It didn't work quite as well when I first did my Katwalk C2 Plus video, so I'm happy that this also got an improvement. But cruise mode is very simple. If I need to go forward, I just brush my foot back like this and just hold my heel up in the air, basically. And then I'm automatically running. So if you do ever get tired, or if you're running across Skyrim, anything like that, you can do this to just be cruising without having to actually be walking or running. Same works for if I want to go backwards, like that, or if I want to strafe. See, now it's just going to auto strafe. Boom. There is a little bit of technique to it. You know, there's times where you can kind of misjudge the side strafing. So just kind of angle the tip of your foot off the side. And then you're moving. Again, it's just going to be kind of weird depending on the games. A lot of games slow you down when you're side strafing, things like that. But once you do it a few times, you'll get used to it. I don't use cruise a ton because I do like actually moving. But again, understand that it's useful if you're in games where there's a lot of walking and running involved, and you're still going to be doing it for a few hours. I'm going to turn that off, so that wraps up the preference section. Let's go over to game config. So game config is where we actually kind of set up our bindings here. So when we need to use our sprint actions or our jump actions, this is kind of how we set that up. So for most games, this is going to be pretty much the same for you. And another thing to remember that this reminds you of in here is that you always want the game set to head-oriented direction. So anytime the game has settings where you can choose what your movement is based off of, always base it off of your HMD here. Head-oriented direction, very important. Yeah, and for walking to actually work, you also need to be on free or smooth locomotion, basically just meaning as long as you can run around with your joystick, you're good to go. The beautiful thing about the treadmills that has always been around for KatVR here is that they don't need to be built into the game to have it work. It'll just simulate your joystick movement. So as long as you can move like this, your Kat treadmill, your Kat product, whatever should work. But just make sure in-game that it's also set to being able to move with your joystick. Free locomotion. But you can change your controllers, so depending on games, so if there's any kind of more unique games out there that handle walking or which controller does it in any way, you can customize that. And then you have walk type here. So walk type is interesting. So linear movement is what you want this on 99.9% of the time. Linear movement is what allows for the sensors to do what they do best and to really just, instead of me going like this to move, right, where in the original C1 sensors, it was just kind of based off of when your legs picked up and moved. What constant movement, speed movement does is it works more like the C1 sensors or like the Loco S, where I can just go like this to move. Feels almost very much like the C1 sensors would. So kind of cool that they have that in there. I am not sure what that would really apply to. So in contractors, I don't need a sprint button, so I have it set to no sprint. But when you do have your options here, either grip press, joystick click, trackpad double click, trackpad click. Any of those you can bind to the sprint action, and then that is what will trigger that sprint threshold. So as soon as you hit your threshold for sprinting that you set already, it will act as if you press that button and cause you to sprint or move faster in game. And then we have jump action. So right now I'll have this showing on left trigger, right? Showing you that that's not going to work, right? Because left trigger does not jump in contractors. It is right joystick. So you can actually set this to pretty much any button available to you. So let's do right joystick click. And as soon as I set it to that, we can jump. Hard to do, but very cool. And down here we have some advanced parameters. I don't really suggest changing these, especially if you're just starting out. I have personally not messed with these because I just haven't felt the need to, but this is where you can really tweak certain settings to make games feel any way you want. Dead zone here really is just to prevent any sort of misjudgment with your steps. It's the higher this is the easier it's going to be for me to activate walking when moving. But that means any tiny step or any little step is going to get registered, which I've never had a problem with it on 0, so that's where I'm going to leave it at. But when it's at 0, that just means that it's kind of at the default zone for activating walking without having a bunch of, misjudgments of your movements. So if I turn that all the way up to 50, just the tiniest movement with my foot is going to move me around. Which it can be good and bad. If you're going to be doing anything fast-paced, just leave this at default. It's not going to change what you think of any game that you play. Your active zone kind of works as the opposite. So imagine there's a big circle around your joystick, and if the circle's full or full-sized, then it's going to recognize when your joystick is pushed all the way forward or all the way left, all the way down, yada yada. It's going to recognize that it's pushed all the way down. So you can kind of use the full distance of your joystick in case certain games have anything that triggers when your joystick's moved all the way forward, for example. So I can actually demo it here. If you can see my controller here. So at 100, look at the joystick. The joystick moves all the way forward. If I bring it down to 50, it's not moving all the way forward. So it's not going to trigger anything if a game has a specific trigger for any reason if the joystick's moved all the way forward. So curve here is to actually fight acceleration or deceleration in games. And what I mean by that is there are certain games that will try to combat motion sickness by making you have a slower startup as you start walking until you kind of get to the full speed. As well as it'll slow you down a little bit as you stop versus just letting you stop on a dime. But leaving it at 0 keeps you kind of at the default linear speed change where whenever I start moving, it's going to be the same speed that if I'm running versus if I'm just sprinting, right? If I leave this at the default 0, it's just going to always kind of get me to my max speed. That's about it. If you up the curve, you're going to bring faster acceleration essentially. So your startup's going to be a lot faster. And I don't quite feel it in contractors here. I definitely feel like as soon as I start moving, okay, so I feel it when I do this. So if I'm like barely moving my feet, and it's starting to move me forward. So this is literally just to combat if any game is kind of forcing you to slowly move forward, just because that can feel a little bit awkward when you're already on a treadmill and you're physically moving. This could be used to offset any games that do that to you. But I'm going to leave that at default because, again, I haven't really run into that problem with the games I play. And then max speed in game is really just how you're setting the top speed per game. This is one that I might end up messing around with a bit more, especially compared to these other ones, because it really just depends on per game what the max speed is. So if you really want to work for it, you can increase this to 5, and then it's going to take a lot longer, and then you're going to have to really be running to hit that top speed, versus if you have it set to lower, you'll be at top speed probably just doing something like this. So let's give it a shot. Yeah, small steps do a lot more on that. But it feels, so I can already tell, little movements now are just doing more. And it can feel a little wild here. So I actually quite like the default of 3 here, because then I can stop, move as I need, keep going. Awesome. All right, and by default, the C2 Core does not come with a seat or haptics. You can purchase that seat module, like I said, for $399, which comes with the sensor and everything. I did show off all of these settings in my C2 Plus video, so I'm not going to go over them now, but if you want to see how this works on the C2 Plus, feel free to go over there. Same thing with the haptics. As far as I can tell, neither of these settings have changed either, so that C2 Plus video is still accurate. So there you have it. There's my quick run through of the Cat Gateway software. Lots of great improvements and just a better feel on these treadmills overall. So it's great to see that the C2 Core is going to be able to take advantage of that. Let's bring you back to the desk. There you go. The Katwalk C2 Core is a great VR treadmill option that is really driving the price down. I think it's impressive that KatVR is focusing on that despite not really having any competition in the VR locomotion market right now. I have really enjoyed using it, and I will continue to use it for some time now, so feel free to check out my Twitch streams. I also go live on Kick and YouTube and TikTok, so kind of a pick your poison type thing. Whichever platform you like the most, feel free to follow me out there, and I'd love to see you chat sometime. My lives are also Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays every week starting around 8 p.m. Central. You should also hop into my Discord, as that is where I will post schedule changes or if I'm streaming an additional night, and where we can just hang out and chat for a bit. It's also a great chance to be a part of my deeper community, so feel free to come in, say hi, and make some friends. To wrap things up, as a reminder, Katwalk C2 Core has been on their website since August 1st, and it will be live for $899 as a starting price point until September 15th. And you can use code JBAR to get an additional 5% off that price. And after the 15th, it's going to go to their retail price for it, which is $999 plus shipping. But you can always use code JBAR for 5% off, so even if it is that higher price, you can still get some money off. I also want to shout out something that's kind of crazy. I have already gotten several referral orders for Katwalk C2 Cores that I can see through my dashboard with Kat. And I gotta say, thank you guys. If you're out there and you're watching this, and before you even saw my review on the video, you decided to go ahead and purchase because you were that excited about it. And I really do appreciate you guys using my code out there because it gives me a bit of a kickback without costing any more for you, and it gives you that discount. So I really just want to say thanks to all of you. It doesn't matter whether you've purchased a treadmill or not, but if you've been in my streams, if you watch my videos, if we interact in any way, I really appreciate it. It really keeps me going with this stuff. I do it as a hobby, and eventually I'd love to do it full time. And whenever that stuff comes through, it just really motivates me, and I appreciate it. I'm happy you guys are finding some value out of the videos that I'm posting. And with that, guys, just make sure you subscribe to the YouTube so you see any new videos that I post. I've got plans and other things coming up here that I am excited to show you. And I just want to leave you with one question. What would you like to see with a Katwalk C3? What do you think a next generation VR treadmill from KatVR should have? I have my own ideas, but I want to save them until I collect some from you guys. So please let me know in the comments below what you think a Katwalk C3, a third generation VR treadmill from KatVR, should have included. What kind of features would you like to see? What kind of changes? Anything and everything is fine. I'm just really curious what you guys think, and maybe I can take some of that and send it to KatVR for some feedback. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you out there.